All right. Uh, this is the third time I'm doing this video. I'm having trouble with Windows. I think it's updating, or Norton's updating, or Foxfire's updating. So I've been getting cutouts and jitters. And anyway, here's the video. Remember I told you I ordered the trim cap for the antenna trimmer? And I messed up and bought an M APC-B. Right, this one here came in the wrong box, but it's the correct one. So as soon as I got it, I was like, again? But the first one came in 3 days, but I had ordered the wrong number. This one took over a week. Same thing happened again. A storm comes across the country and messes it up. And or there's a holiday on Monday. Well, there wasn't a holiday on Monday, but this part came from Florida. It came up from Florida as the storm came across the country, and it was one day the weather messed up, and it didn't show up on Monday late. It showed up yesterday, which was Tuesday. But I told you, I'm sort of like in the twilight zone. Whenever I order parts, things seem to go wrong. The same way. It's impossible, but it does, and this is why I told you once before, and it still happened again. So anyway, what I want to tell you now is the APC-50B will work. It'll fit in there, but the shaft's not long enough. This shaft here, the way they've made it, they bogused it. So somewhere along the line, you're going to have to change the coupler to a longer coupler or change the shaft length. I don't know what your solution will be. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to add 2 wires to this and get it remounted in there and then figure out what I want to do with the shaft. And also, I want to tell you, when I was looking up on how to take one of these apart, there are ones you can take apart, sort of. It looks like a nut that's on here instead of a shaft. And that's press fitted on, and it's brass, and it cracks. And it allows this to slip. All right? You'll find them on the BC348s. I never encountered one of them because I never touch, let's say, the calibration settings on those modules because I want to change all the capacitors of the radio first, turn it on, and see if it's in calibration. And it is. But some people, before they change the capacitors, they start turning knobs and stuff. Well, the nut that goes on the shaft of this type of capacitor, and they're in those modules, it's press fitted and it's brass. And it's just like that. If you remember the Hellcrafters SX, was it 42? I had the cracked gear, same thing. Brass gear, press fitted on, the gear cracked. So I used a splint. I just didn't resolder it. I splinted the gear so it wouldn't crack again. Well, anyway, I found some really bad horror stories as I was trying to find a way to take this apart. I just wanted to take it apart and fix what wore out, but you can't do it. Probably if you had a better machine shop with a press fitting machine or something, you could do it. But just want to tell you, these are the things you run into. But there are ones of these. You got to watch out you don't buy them accident. They use a nut driver. In my last video, I couldn't remember what this was called. It came to me. When you're doing a video and you're old, you lose words. And then going into the video, I knew Windows was cracking up. I'm in the twilight zone. And I did change the amount of memory in my computer. And I realized usually it's Windows loading an update. And it gets the computer all messed up. And that's why my voice will sometimes go like that. And people go, what is that? I'm not redoing the video sometimes because it's a pain in the ass. So that's all that went wrong in one video. My voice went a little wonky. And I'm like, I'm not doing the video over. Now, this is the third time I've done this video. But I want to tell you, when you buy, this is a Hammarlund capacitor. Now, there are Johnsons out there. If you get a Johnson, 50 picofarad, with this type of mounting, which is called an APC type. Anyway, It has a shaft, and you could cut it to length. I have one of those, but it's a 140 picofarad, and I don't think it'll fit in that spot. I don't want to. I want the sort of the exact one to go back in. This is exact except for the shaft length, and I'll have to work around that. But that's what I want to tell you. Whenever I run into something, I'm going to tell you and do a video, because you'll probably encounter the same thing. You know, if you have a bad trimmer cap for the antenna and the radio, you have to have that, because that's a big chunk of the front end tuning capacitor. So as you tune up in frequency, you turn the knob of the antenna trim to resonate the antenna. There are sets that don't have an antenna trim, but you're losing signal with those, and that's why the Hellcrafters S40 is such a bad front end on it, because it doesn't have the trim cap. And a couple of old timers will say it doesn't have an antenna trim, so you really lose a lot of signal if the front end of the radio isn't tuned on the frequency you're on. And the Nationals have it, the Hammerlands have the antenna trim, and some cheap sets just don't have it. And you're losing a lot of signal by not being able to properly track as you go up and down frequencies. I mean, the three capacitors that are tracking, they are tracking, but you are losing signal, because it's very hard to track a signal when you have different length antennas. See, you have to get the antenna trimmed to the circuit so the most amount of transfer of signal comes into the radio. And you can eliminate that part, but that's a really cheap radio. So whoever recapped this, I think they figured that out, that this unit was bad, and then they just decided to sell it, or whatever happened to it. But it is recapped. But of course, I'm still got a wacko problem. And then I thought it was so funny. I was telling you guys about every time something gets shipped to me, there's a holiday involved and a storm shows up. Any time of the year, every part I ever order. And I started looking at this thing, because I started, remember the disappearing objects phenomenon? I started paying attention to that. So then I started noticing other things that weren't right, that kept going over and over and over on me. And I said, well, I'm going to make some changes, because it's me. I'm causing this. No, it wasn't me. People don't ship right away on eBay. If you order Friday, it doesn't get shipped till the following Saturday. The next Saturday, let's see, Friday. Yeah. They don't always go to the post office the next day. So it may be a full week before you get the part, because they're not going to make a trip to the post office just for one capacitor that they're selling. And this stuff's not selling like it used to. And this guy here that sold this to me, this capacitor, he had them come to his house and pick it up. And they'll still do that. And we'll probably see that disappear. But they're making all kinds of cuts and everything in the government. And we'll probably see that the fact that the post office won't come to your house and pick up anything anymore. I think that's it. All right, that's it.